My dearest daughter, today I want to share with you some stories about my mom, your grandmother, who resides deep in my heart. I opened the diary of memories I had written about my mom. The diary entries about my mom were much longer than I expected, filling several volumes. The image of my mom stored in my memory was vivid, almost like a movie playing in my mind, allowing me to feel every moment through my senses. Her actions and emotions, changing with circumstances, were all captured in my mind like scenes from a movie. As I observed her life and recorded it in my mind, countless moments of both her and myself were intertwined within those pages. In the diary, my mom was someone whose happiness was derived from her children's comfort and joy. She made her children's happiness her life's goal. Growing up in the harsh conditions of the Korean War, without even the educational benefits, she endured childhood hunger to become the person she was. Your grandmother, my mom, faced hardships after your grandfather passed away early. She relied solely on him, struggling to adapt to the harsh reality, eventually losing all her property to relatives due to her inability to manage it. This left her in severe financial distress, unable to receive a proper education. It was a lasting scar on her heart. Seeing her own mother's practical incompetence, your grandmother believed that women needed higher education and social experience to have economic independence. Therefore, despite the difficult economic circumstances, she did her best to provide me with an education. That was her way of showing love to me. Your grandmother couldn't bear to be left without any knowledge of handling her own assets after your grandfather's death, falling into economic hardship as relatives took away everything. She couldn't receive an education due to her poverty. This left a deep scar on her heart. Seeing her own mother's incompetence, she developed a firm belief that women should receive higher education to achieve economic independence. So, for my education, she struggled despite the difficult economic circumstances. That was her way of showing love to me. Your grandmother longed to compensate for not being able to receive the education she desired through me, her daughter. Through meditation, I realized that witnessing your grandmother's struggles, I wasn't truly happy. And seeing your grandmother's happiness tied to my success, I lived a life trying to make her happy by pretending to be happy myself. Reading through the honest thoughts about your grandmother in the diary, I realized that my entire life wasn't lived for my own happiness, but for hers. Your grandmother lived for my happiness, and I lived for hers. That's why both your grandmother and I, believing that sacrificing for each other's happiness was true happiness, were unhappy despite our efforts. Your grandmother, whose happiness was tied to her children's, spent her life only looking at her children, so even in the toughest times, her children couldn't say they were unhappy and had to lie, saying they were happy. Even when Mom was struggling, I wanted to go back to my hometown to find solace with my mother, but I couldn't. I was afraid her troubles would burden her. Thus, your grandmother, who was once the closest but now the most distant, became a painful memory for me. As I threw away the records of your grandmother's efforts for my happiness, I cried a lot. Despite our efforts for each other's happiness, the pain of being unable to communicate anything remained as I discarded the diaries. And in doing so, I completely understood and empathized with your grandmother, realizing that I also wanted to help her be truly happy. As I let go of my desire for Mom to be happy, that's when genuine love for my mom truly began. So I want to tell you, my only child, you don't have to try to show Mom your happiness. Just live your life honestly. Whatever life you choose, it's okay to live it based on your own perspective of happiness, not others. You may think you know what makes you happy, but I hope you'll delve deep into your heart to find out what true happiness means to you. Ask yourself what makes you happy. Challenge yourself to find the answer not in your thoughts, but in your heart. You must awaken the true feelings buried deep within your heart. Meditation is about awakening the depths of your heart. My beloved daughter, always stay healthy, and let's talk again next time.